Welcome to this AP video tutorial on how to approach stimulus-based multiple choice questions. Okay, that's a lot to say, but there's a reason why we're going to say it. So in the past, you're kind of used to what's known as standard-based multiple choice questions. What are those? So you probably remember in most cases when you went in to take a test for a class, you would get something that looked a little bit like this. A standard-based multiple choice question is just the question itself and 4 answers right after it. Now, a lot of times those could be just basic memorization questions, and sometimes they could be a lot more complicated. They're a little bit more difficult to approach. But AP tests aren't structured that way. AP tests are not standard-based multiple choice. They're what they're called stimulus-based multiple choice questions. What the heck is that? So stimulus-based multiple choice question means this. You're going to get a stimulus. Now, a stimulus could be a written passage. It could be a chart, or it could be a picture. You're then going to be asked a really tough and challenging question about it. And the biggest mistake students can make is to think that they're just going to remember what they studied about in class and see the answer in the choices. That's not how it works. In a stimulus-based multiple choice question, you get 4 answers, kind of typical, right? But 3 of those answers are what we call distractors, meaning they're pretty typically true to history. They just don't work for this particular question. And this makes it kind of tough. Most students who approach these tests and these questions, they kind of fumble. And the reason why is they're waiting for that old standard-based multiple choice where they're just going to see the answer that they studied in class. You just can't approach it that way. So let's dive into a method that might help you out a little bit more. Okay, so here's the method you want to use when you approach stimulus-based multiple choice questions. First, let's start here. You're not looking for the right answer. You're looking for the best possible answer. Now, I know that seems strange, but that mindset's really important. If you look for the right answer, you're going to get kind of confused because a lot of the answers are going to look right because they're historically true, but they don't fit for the passage. Okay, how do we narrow this down to make this happen? First place you always look to, big mistake students make. Don't look to the passage, look to the question. Why do you want to look at the question? Because the question will tell you what the historical thinking skill, the content, and the time period are. That's what you want to look for when you're looking at the question. Next up, again, don't look at the passage, look at the source of the passage. The source of the passage is going to give you a lot of context clues about the passage. Just by looking at the author's name, looking at the title of the work, looking at the year, you can tell a lot about what this passage is going to be about. Okay, now you get to read the passage, but you're going to scan the passage. You're not going to read it in detail. You're scanning it and skimming it for the overall idea. Okay, final step that you want to do, go into the answer choices and do process of elimination. I know you're going to want to look for the right answer, but remember what I told you, there are a lot of good answers here. We want to eliminate the ones that don't fit. How are we going to eliminate? Well, there are 3 big categories that you can eliminate off of. Number 1, wrong time period. A lot of times some of the answers that are being given that are distractors are true to history, but are outside of the time period that you're looking at. Number 2, the wrong actor. Okay, what does that mean? The action might be true in history, but it's not true for the actor in the passage. It's being done tricky a little bit there. And last off is number 3. The answer is right for history, but it's not relevant to what the question's asking, either in its time period, content, or its historical thinking skill. Okay, now you choose the best possible answer, and that's your method. So again, look to the question number 1, look to the source number 2, skim the passage, number 3 for your answers, and then do process elimination. Okay, so now let's take a look at it. Oh, a little bit of a costume change. You can kind of tell I do these things over several days, just for you. Anyways, let's take a look at an example really quick of how to approach stimulus-based multiple choice question. So the very first place that we want to start off with when we're taking a look at a passage is the prompt. In this particular case, the prompt that's being asked for is, the labor system described in the passage was most similar to the labor system used for. Now, when we look at something like that, we see that the historical thinking skill here is about comparison. Next, we're going to take a look at the source. The source is by Hugh Jones, The Present State of Virginia, 1724. Now, when we look at that source, what we end up seeing is that we are being given context clues. Context clues like it's Virginia, that's in the Chesapeake. We know that they farmed tobacco and that they used slavery. That already orients us a little bit more to the passage. Okay, so now what we want to do is take a look at the passage itself. In this case, we see that it says, in Virginia, the Negroes, or African slaves, live in small cottages called quarters. under the direction of an overseer who takes care that they tend such land as the owner allots and orders. Their greatest hardship is consisting in that they and their posterity are not at their own liberty or disposal, but the property of their owners. The children belong to the master of the woman that bears them. Okay, this tells us overall that what this passage is about chattel slavery. Notice it's just a gist of the passage. Okay, now what we want to do is that we want to move into the answers themselves. So let's take a look at each one of the answers, starting with A, mining in New Spain. So mining in New Spain is true to history, but it's a distractor. It's not the correct time period. That time period was really about the encomiendas in the 1600s. Now let's take a look at B, whaling in New England. Okay, correct time period, but there really aren't any similar characteristics. It's in the wrong region for us to really give a similarity. This isn't about farming in a slavery type system. Okay, acquiring furs in New France. Here we got the wrong actor. I mean, in this particular case, we have nothing to do with slavery. This is about an equal form of trade between Native Americans and Europeans. So now we finish up with D, producing sugar in the Caribbean. This is the right answer, and it's very clear why. It's a similar time period, similar action. We're talking about slavery, but this time in the Caribbean, and we know slavery in the Caribbean produced sugar, not tobacco or cotton, but it was a similar type of product for a similar purpose, that of mercantilism. Okay, once we get done with all of this, right, we kind of know how to get to the correct answer. And the reason why is because we followed our strategy. 1, look at the question for the historical thinking skill, content and time period. 2, look at the source for context clues. 3, read the passage for the gist, the overall idea. 4, eliminate at least 2 answers based upon incorrect time period, incorrect location, incorrect actor, not relevant to the passage. And then last up, choose the best possible answer. Okay, that's our strategy for doing stimulus-based multiple choice questions. It's not a guarantee you're always going to get the right answer, but it is the way to find the best answer overall. Good luck. See you in class.